My name is Lauren Mitchell, and until a few months ago, I believed I had a stable life.
Not a perfect one.
Not a fairy tale. But a life built on routines, trust, and the kind of quiet comfort that comes after 10 years of marriage. I never imagined that something as small as my husband's broken phone would dismantle everything I thought I knew about the man I shared my life with. Before I take you into that moment, I want to thank you for being here. If you enjoy emotional, cinematic storytelling with twists and real-life tension, please remember to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach people who might need them.
Now, let me take you back to the beginning.
To the first crack that opened the door to the truth. My husband, Eric, was the sort of man people described as dependable. He paid the bills on time, remembered birthdays, and held open doors for strangers. He laughed easily, worked steadily, and rarely raised his voice.
We met in college.
Married in our late 20s. Settled into a quiet suburb just outside Denver. To everyone else, we were the couple that had it figured out. But the thing about cracks in a relationship is that they do not appear as explosions. They appear as shifts. As silence. As little things that no one else notices. And slowly over the course of the last year Eric had shifted. He started sleeping with his phone under his pillow. He took calls outside. He changed passwords without explanation. He grew distant emotionally and physically. But whenever I asked if he was okay, he simply said, "Just work stress." I wanted to believe him. I chose to believe him. Until the day his phone stopped working. It was a Thursday morning. We were both rushing to get ready for work. Eric dropped his phone in the kitchen, and the screen went completely black. He cursed under his breath, shaking it as if he could force it to come back to life. "I will take it to the repair shop," I offered. "It is on my way." He hesitated just a moment, but long enough to sting. "You sure?" he asked. "Yes, of course. It is just a phone." But his eyes. They told me he did not agree. They held a kind of resistance, like he wanted to say no but could not justify rejecting the offer without raising questions. Finally, he nodded. "All right. Thank you." He handed it to me with a strange stiffness, as though he were giving me something fragile, something dangerous. But I ignored the unease in my gut. Because in a healthy marriage, you do not assume your spouse is hiding something.
You assume the best.
The shop was a small, cluttered place run by a quiet man named Elias. I had taken my own phone there once years ago. He did good work. He greeted me politely and asked what the issue was. "Black screen," I said. No response at all. He nodded and took the phone to his workstation. I waited by the counter, scrolling through emails. After a few minutes, I noticed Elias had stopped working. He was staring at the phone screen, now lit up, his expression shifting from concentration to something else. Concern. Confusion.
Alarm. Is everything all right?
I asked. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he turned slowly, looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Ma'am, you need to cancel your credit cards.
And change the locks on your house.
Today."
A chill hit me so fast that I forgot how to breathe.
I do not understand," I whispered. "Why would you say something like that?" He hesitated, clearly wrestling with the ethics of revealing what he had seen. Then he said carefully, "I cannot open personal files. I am not allowed to read messages. But sometimes, things flash on the screen. Enough to give context." He swallowed hard. "And what I saw concerns your safety."
My knees weakened.
"My safety?" He nodded. "I cannot legally tell you everything. But your husband's phone contains things no spouse should ever hide. And things no decent person should be planning." I felt my stomach turn.
What kind of things?
I pressed. He kept his voice low.
Financial documents.
Plans.
Conversations. Transaktions.
Messaging apps designed for secrecy. My heart pounded. "What are you saying?" He looked at me with genuine worry. "I am saying you should protect yourself. Immediately."
My hands shook so badly I had to grip the counter.
Was Eric cheating? Gambling? In debt? Planning something illegal? Or worse, planning something that involved me? Elias handed the phone back, screen still glowing faintly. I restored temporary access, he said. It will stay on long enough for you to see what you need to see. After that, the battery will die again. I stared at him, unable to speak. I am sorry, he said softly. This is the most I can do. I left the shop in a daze, the phone heavy in my hand like an object that had suddenly become alive, dangerous, containing secrets I never asked to know but could not escape. I sat in my car for a full minute, breathing hard, wondering whether to look. Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Finally, with trembling fingers, I unlocked the screen.
And what I found
was the beginning of a nightmare. The home screen was filled with apps I had never seen before. Encrypted messaging platforms. Financial apps linked to accounts that were not ours. A folder titled Work Projects, locked with a second password. And then there were the emails. Hundreds of them. I clicked on the newest one. And the blood drained from my face. It was addressed to a woman named Clara.
Not a co-worker. Not a business associate.
The subject line read, "Finalizing everything before I leave." My hands shook violently as I opened it. The email detailed upcoming withdrawals from our joint accounts, closing of shared credit cards, transferring assets to a private account, canceling insurance policies, a timelinea tone of excitement. Excitement.
About leaving me.
But it was the final line that broke me. Once everything is moved over, she will not be able to take anything from me. After that, we can start our new life.
Start our new life. The words stabbed me like a blade.
Eric was planning to leave me. Not just leave, but strip me of every financial resource, every protection, every foundation we had built together. He was planning to disappear. And he was planning to take everything with him. I kept scrolling. Email after email, message after message. Some were logistical. Some were romantic. Some were explicit. But the worst ones, the ones that made my blood run cold, were the ones that mentioned me. She suspects nothing. She is too trusting. Once her access is cut, she will not be able to fight the divorce. Do not worry. She does not have anyone to help her. As though I were not a person. As though I were an obstacle. As though I had no value beyond what I could lose.
My breath grew shallow. My vision blurred.
My marriage, my life began to crumble right there in the repair shop parking lot. And then came the message that shook me the most. A message from Eric to Clara.
Give me until Friday.
By then, the house will be in my name only. I felt my heart stumble inside my chest. My home.
The home I paid for. The home where I built a life.
The home where I believed I was safe. He was taking it. All of it. Everything. And he thought I would never know. As I sat there, shaking and broken, the phone buzzed. An incoming message from Clara. Are you sure she will not find out? Eric replied instantly. Never. She is predictable.
Naive.
She would never go through my phone. I stared at the screen, tears falling silently onto my lap.
Naive.
Predictable.
A woman who trusted her husband.
He was wrong. He was dead wrong. And in that moment of shattering clarity,
I felt something rise inside me.
Not fear. Not despair. But resolve. If Eric was planning to ruin my life, then I needed to decide, right now, how to protect it. I drove home slowly, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles whitened.
Elias' words echoed in my head.
Cancel your cards and change the locks. My marriage was a lie. My home was under threat. My financial security had already been targeted. But Eric did not know that I knew. And that ignorance was the only advantage I had left. When I parked in the driveway, my hands were still trembling.
I sat still for a long time, breathing through the devastation.
Then I wiped my tears, straightened my shoulders, and took the first step toward saving myself. I unlocked the front door of our house with shaking hands. A house that suddenly did not feel like mine. A house that he had already planned to take from me. A house filled with the echoes of 10 years of memories that now tasted like lies. I set the phone on the kitchen counter and stood there for several minutes, gripping the edge of the sink to steady myself. The room spun around me, not because of dizziness, but because the foundation beneath my life had shifted so violently I could not find my footing. I whispered to myself, "You are going to get through this. One step at a time." And then I turned the phone back on. The screen dimmed slightly, the battery was draining, just as Elias had warned. I had limited time before the secrets inside it disappeared back into darkness. My breathing grew shallow as I opened the files again.
What I found next
Was worse than betrayal. Worse than abandonment.
worse than financial ruin.
It was danger. Real danger. At first, I returned to the email folder, trying to absorb the reality of Eric's plan. He was closing joint accounts, reassigning property, removing my access, and preparing for a divorce that would leave me with nothing. But as devastating as that was, something still did not make sense. Why had Elias, an ordinary phone technician, told me to change my locks? Financial betrayal does not require new locks. Infidelity does not require new locks. Safety does. So I returned to the home screen. There was a folder titled Archive. I tapped it. Inside were dozens of screenshots, receipts, maps, photos of my schedule, my work hours, my gym hours, every place I routinely stopped on weekdays.
My blood ran cold.
He was tracking me. Why would my husband need a detailed record of every minute of my daily life? I clicked on a map file. A red pin was dropped on the exact streets I drove to work.
Another pin for my Pilates class.
Another for the grocery store. Then I opened something that looked like a note. It said, "She leaves home at 7:35. Earliest return, 5:10. Max window, 9 hours, 35 minutes.
Max window. For what?
My hands trembled so violently I had to set the phone down. Something was very wrong. This was not the behavior of a man preparing to leave a marriage. This was the behavior of a man preparing for something far darker. I tapped into one of the encrypted messaging apps. To my surprise, it opened without a password. He must have assumed no one would ever see it. The first conversation thread was with Clara. But the second was with someone listed only by the initials RG. I opened it. At first, it looked like business talk. Dates. Amounts of money. Instructions. But then the tone shifted. RG, you need to finish the transfer before Friday. Eric, I will. She thinks everything is normal. RG, good. Make sure she is not home for the appraisal. Eric, I told her I will handle it. She never questions anything. Appraisal.
Of the house.
The house he was trying to take from me. My stomach twisted. Then I scrolled further. RG, if she tries to fight back, we have options. Eric, I do not think she will. She is passive. RG, still. Plan for every outcome.
Eric, all right.
Options. Every outcome. What options? Options for what outcome?
A chill slid through my spine.
Then I reached the message that shattered the last illusion of safety I had. RG, once everything is finalized, you will be free. But it has to be clean.
No complications. Eric, understood.
Clean.
No complications. The screen blurred through my tears.
Were they talking about me? I returned to the home screen and noticed a folder I had not opened yet. It was labeled Insurance. I assumed it was related to property paperwork or maybe our life insurance policies. But when I opened it, my knees buckled. Screenshots of life insurance claim forms, my medical ID numbers, my signature. Not scanned, but forged. I pressed a hand over my mouth, struggling not to scream. One form was already filled out. A life insurance claim. Filed by Eric. On my policy. Dated 2 weeks from now. My heart stopped. He was not planning to leave me. He was planning to erase me. Completely. As I stared at the screen in horror, the phone buzzed again.
An incoming message.
From RG. Did you tell her about the new policy? She cannot suspect anything.
My breath caught.
New policy? I checked the file again. He had taken out another life insurance policy in my name. I had no memory of signing anything. Then another message came in. Friday is the last day. After that, it will be too late.
Too late for what? My hands shook uncontrollably.
Were they planning to stage something? An accident? A health emergency? The words kept echoing. Clean.
No complications.
Clean.
No complications.
Clean.
No complications.
My heart pounded so hard I thought I might faint. I grabbed the phone and stumbled into the living room, needing air, needing light, needing something to hold on to that was not the truth unraveling in my hands. But there was no escape. Because another message came in. This time, from Eric himself. Everything will be ready. She will not see it coming. I dropped the phone. I started shaking. And I knew. I was not just betrayed. I was not just abandoned. I was in danger.
Real, immediate danger. The kind of danger no one ever imagines will come from the person they married. The battery icon blinked red. The screen dimmed again.
I had only minutes left before the phone died and took all the evidence with it. I picked it up with trembling hands and forced myself to focus.
I screenshotted everything.
Every email.
Every message. Every document. Every conversation.
Every signature he had forged. Every plan he had laid out. My hands moved fast, fueled by survival. When the phone shut off, I had over 200 screenshots. Hard proof. Then I sat in silence, realizing the terrifying truth. I could not stay in this house.
Not for one more night.
Because Eric was not away on a work trip. He was not busy. He was not distant out of stress. He was preparing. Preparing for my absence. Preparing for a future without me. Preparing to ensure I never interfered with the new life he was building. And Friday, the deadline they kept mentioning, was only 2 days away.
If I did nothing,
I might not live to see Saturday. I grabbed my purse, my car keys, and the folder of screenshots I had printed from my laptop. Then I hesitated. Should I pack clothes?
Take valuables?
Bring sentimental items? No.
Elias's words came back to me.
Cancel your cards and change the locks. He had not said, pack a bag. He had said,
protect yourself.
This was not the moment to collect memories. It was the moment to survive.
I walked out of the house, locking the door behind me. The irony stung.
The real danger was not outside my home. It was inside it. It was a man I had loved for 10 years. A man who planned to erase me. I started the car, gripping the steering wheel tightly. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I saw myself clearly.
Not as Eric's wife.
Not as the woman he manipulated. Not as the naive spouse he thought I was. But as someone who deserved to live. Someone who deserved to fight. Someone who deserved the truth. I drove away, knowing that everything in my life had changed. I drove without direction for nearly half an hour.
Streetlights blurred through my tears.
My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echoing inside my skull. Every few seconds, I glanced at my rearview mirror, terrified that Eric might suddenly appear behind me, following me, watching me, waiting for an opportunity. Logically, I knew he was at work. But logic does not exist when fear is breathing down your neck. I finally pulled into a grocery store parking lot and sat there with the engine running, gripping the steering wheel until my fingers hurt.
Everything inside me screamed the same truth.
You cannot go back there. He was planning something. If you go home, you may not survive. For a moment, I felt utterly alone. Then I reminded myself. I had proof. I had time, very little, but enough. And I had a chance to stop him. I wiped my eyes, steadied my breathing, and made the most important call of my life.
9 bis 1 bis 1.
The dispatcher listened quietly as I spoke through tears, explaining what I had found, what the technician had warned, what the messages implied. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then the dispatcher said, voice firm and steady.
Ma'am, you did the right thing calling us. Please stay where you are.
An officer will be there shortly. Minutes later, 2 officers arrived. One stood beside the car, the other sat with me, large sums. And RG was not just a random contact. He had been directing Eric, telling him what to do, pushing the timeline, ensuring everything stayed clean. Who was this man? A friend? A lawyer?
A financial advisor?
Someone from his job? Or someone involved in something far darker? My stomach twisted. What if Eric was not just running from our marriage? What if he was involved in something criminal? What if I was an obstacle not just emotionally, but legally? The thought chilled me to the bone. Because if that were true, then his motivations were not just betrayal. They were survival. His survival. The officers escorted me to a safe overnight facility, quiet, clean, and private, run by the city for people in emergency situations. I sat on the edge of the cot, curled in a blanket, replaying the messages again and again in my mind. But when my phone rang 2 hours later, I nearly dropped it.
Unknown number.
I answered. Hello. Mrs. Mitchell, a voice said.
This is Detective Harris.
My team and I are currently at your residence.
My breath caught.
What did you find? There was a pause. A pause that lasted too long. Finally he said, your husband came home earlier than expected. My heart stopped. He attempted to enter the house. But because the technician removed the battery to temporarily restore the device, he could not track the phone. He did not know you were gone.
I exhaled sharply.
Were you able to talk to him? We questioned him briefly, Harris said carefully. His reaction was unusual. Unusual how? He claimed you were unstable. That you were paranoid. He said you were imagining threats. He insisted he had no idea what you were talking about.
A wave of nausea washed over me.
Of course he did. Of course he tried to gaslight them too. He denied everything. Yes, the detective said. And when we mentioned the documents and messages you found, he said someone must have hacked his phone. I wanted to scream. How much did he know about what you were seeing? I asked. He seemed more concerned about what you knew, Harris said. When we told him you were safe, his behavior changed. I swallowed. Changed how? His anger escalated. He became defensive. He demanded to know where you were. He tried to push past my officers.
A chill slid down my spine.
He asked where I was. I whispered, yes, repeatedly.
My blood froze.
He is not under arrest yet, Harris continued, but he is officially a person of interest in a potential fraud case. And possibly more.
My voice shook. What should I do?
Stay where you are, he instructed. Do not contact him. Do not return home until we complete our investigation. I nodded silently, even though he could not see me. We will be in touch, he added.
And Lauren, you did the right thing. The line disconnected.
I curled on the bed and cried. Not because I was sad. Not because I was heartbroken. But because I finally understood how close I had been to losing everything, including my life. I woke up sore, exhausted, and emotionally hollow. Detective Harris called again around 9 a.m. We need you to come to the station, he said. We have new information. I dressed quickly and arrived within 20 minutes. They escorted me into a small interview room. Harris entered with a file in his hand, thick, heavy. Lauren, he began, we identified RG.
My heart raced.
Who is he?
A man named Raymond Grant.
He has ties to insurance fraud, identity theft, and in one case attempted homicide tied to a fraudulent life insurance claim. My knees buckled.
I gripped the table.
And my husband? He has been communicating with Raymond for months. Their messages suggest coordination.
My breath caught.
So Eric was planning something with him? Harris nodded slowly. We believe Eric was attempting to stage either an accident or a medical event. Something that would allow him to collect your life insurance payout without raising suspicion. Raymond has assisted others in similar schemes. The room spun. Eric had not just planned to leave me. He had planned to profit from my death. He had been setting up the paperwork, adjusting the house ownership, tracking my schedule, coordinating with a known criminal. It was not an affair. It was not a breakup. It was calculated eradication. I whispered, trembling, "Is he under arrest?" "Not yet," Harris said. "But based on the new evidence, we have a warrant for his financial records and digital devices. He knows we are onto him, which means he may act unpredictably." The fear I had been holding inside me erupted. What if he comes after me? "We will not allow that," Harris said firmly. "We are assigning officers to monitor your location. Do you have someone you trust who you can stay with?" I nodded. "My sister." "Good. Stay with her.
Do not go anywhere alone." I exhaled shakily. "What happens now?"
"We build the case," he said. "And we protect you." I moved into my sister's house that evening. She hugged me tightly, shocked and horrified by everything I told her. But the worst moment came at midnight. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Eric. Not a call.
Not a paragraph.
Just 6 words. 6 words that made my skin crawl. "We need to talk. Come home." My stomach twisted. He did not know I had spoken to the police. He did not know I had screenshots. He did not know they had found his connection to Raymond. But he knew I was gone. He knew I had seen something.
And now he wanted me back in the house.
Alone. My hands shook violently as I showed the message to my sister. She grabbed my arm.
"You are not going anywhere." I forwarded the message to Detective Harris.
His reply came instantly. "Do not respond.
Do not go home. We are moving forward tonight."
2 days later, Eric Mitchell was arrested. Charges: conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, attempted identity theft, falsifying legal documents, fraudulent to commit financial exploitation, and complicity in a scheme tied to potential physical harm. He was taken into custody outside his office. When Raymond Grant was arrested a week later, their message history was presented as evidence. Eric finally understood I had uncovered everything. His eyes met mine in the courtroom hallway during the preliminary hearing. There was no love. No remorse. Just fury. As though I had betrayed him. But I did not flinch. Because at that moment, I realized. He never loved me. He loved what he could gain from me. And when I stopped being profitable, he planned to dispose of me. I walked past him without a word. And for the first time in years, I felt safe. Truly safe. Rebuilding was not easy. I met with detectives, lawyers, therapists,
financial advisors.
I filed for divorce. I regained control of my accounts. I reclaimed my house legally and emotionally. The first night I returned to that house, I stood in the doorway for a long time. I expected to feel fear. Instead, I felt something else. Strength. Because the home he had tried to use as bait was now mine again. Not as a prison, but as proof that I survived.